So we're going to do a bit of reading today. I'm going to read one of the novels that we published recently. This is entitled Life Hates Us by M.F. Ayala. This is her second work with 8 letters. And to give you an idea how long it takes for this book to be published, this manuscript was submitted to us last February as a result of the 31 letters challenge that usually happens or takes place in January every year. Okay. And then we only published this last December 2025. So that's in the span of 10 months. So that's how long it takes in the traditional route under 8 letters. Okay. So what is this book all about? It's a story of quiet pain, fragile connections, and the small unspoken ways two souls can reach each other. There are two characters in the story. There's Callus Luna, a doctor with a brilliant mind and a burning heart. He has built walls around himself after losing the love of his life. Then there's also Trista Solana. She's sort of like a drifter. She's been drifting through her days, carrying a weight of abandonment and loneliness that she cannot name. Their homes are separated by a thin wall, a boundary both physical and emotional, but in that small space, something begins to stir. True notes slip between cracks, fleeting gestures, and moments of shared understanding. Callus and Trista find themselves drawn toward one another. But as their lives converge, they must ask themselves, are they a solace to each other or simply two wandering souls clinging to the faintest glimmer of hope? The wedding bells tolled in the distance as the newlyweds emerged from the church. The crowd outside applauded them cheerfully, throwing petals and grains of rice at them. The sun was high in the sky, not a cloud in sight. A good day for a wedding. But not for 36-year-old Trista Solana. She sat on a bench in front of the church, of all places, with a laptop on her lap as she typed away. Her eyes rolled with a snide and continued to type furiously as if she wanted to break her keyboard. Yet she stopped with a gasp. No, no, I must remember this cost more than my salary, she thought, rubbing the sides of her laptop as if to apologize to the thing. She sighed to herself and looked back at the church. Trista scoffed at the expensive gowns, the flowers, the cameraman, videographers, and everything in the package. She blew raspberries and looked back at her laptop. Such a needless show of wealth. The dress alone could easily cost the couple around 500,000 at the very least, she muttered as she shook her head in disdain. Not practical, especially with the inflation rising by the month. She stretched her legs and froze as she felt a cramp. If only I had waited for a seat at Solstice Brew. She groaned and went back to her laptop. 3 chapters. 3 chapters left until the deadline. They should be easy, right? No. She rubbed her head in an attempt to dislodge ideas in her brain. Should her frustration reach brain, that is. Irritated by her dilemma, she groaned loudly, scratching her head and disheveling her already disheveled hair. But a chuckle caught her attention. It was a 3-year-old chasing his father. Her eyes mellowed and fell gently as her gaze followed the child. As she did, there was a certain tug in her chest, a sense of longing. She turned her eyes away and bitterly returned to her furious writing. Who would want a nerd for a wife anyway? She said. She asked herself and typed a whooping 100 words as she said that. Not far from where she sat, Kellus Luna, 36, stood with his hands slipped in his pockets. He had the same disdainful look in his otherwise elegant face and a dignified stance. He's a tall man who carried himself with a stern air about him. His pristine blue shirt with not a speck of dust on it, and his hand strained at the way of his laptop bag containing numerous documents as his white coat was slung neatly over his arm. He massaged his temple and saw the young child playing with his father. A small smile surfaced on his lips, a gentle smile. Shaking his head, he turned away. It's no use trying to love again. His eyes dropped to his feet, his fist clenching, yet his face remained composed. Yet a little voice in his mind told him, why not try again? Memories of the sound of cars crashing rang in his ears, the spray of broken glass hitting his face, the frantic yelling of the emergency responders. He whipped his head to the side and shut his eyes tightly. Blurred images of doctors struggling to revive him mingled with the pain in his chest as he knelt in front of a grave. Never again, he groaned under his breath, clenching his fist until it hurt. He stepped aside, but then something else caught his attention. Trista, sitting on a bench with a solemn look in her glistening eyes. Narrowing his eyes, he blinked and recognized her. She's the person living next to him in a house with a divide in the middle. But there was something about her that was eerily familiar, yet he couldn't point his finger at it. It could be her posture or her stature. But as his gaze went to her face, his heart gave a painful twist. He massaged his chest as he groaned in pain.